Today we're going to be looking at the scheduling in OnPlan, which is part of ConstructionSuite, the way that integrates with ConstructionSuite as an overall software and can integrate with your estimates in ConstructionSuite, and also kind of some of the functionality. If you're familiar with scheduling using Gantt chart systems such as Microsoft Project, OnPlan is going to be pretty familiar for you. It's pretty easy to use and kind of intuitive. So once you get down kind of the basics, it's a great way to help make sure that all of your projects stay on track and on time, and that you have kind of a good view of what your timeline looks like coming forward or moving forward. So we can see here in ConstructionSuite, this is going to be our main window for scheduling. Over on our left side, we have all of our different modules. And as you know, everything in ConstructionSuite ties back into a project. So the schedules that we have here are tied back into certain projects. You can see I've got my schedules here built out of our sample data. And so our Lot 185 is going to be built back to our Lot 185 project and associated with that, and also with the estimate that we have there. Just a quick overview of what we see here in kind of the interface for scheduling. First, we're going to see a short week-long view of what scheduled tasks we come up. We're going to quickly and easily see which schedules we've been working with recently and the ones that we have kind of on our to-do list, the ones that we've been working with actively. And then over on the right, we're going to be able to see the different templates that we have. ConstructionSuite makes it extremely easy for you to create and save templates just by opening one of your schedules and saving it as a template. So you can actually go through, you can take one of the scheduled templates that we provide, you can work on it and build it and kind of modify that to make it similar to the way that you want to have your schedule look or the way that your jobs run through or plan through. And then you can immediately save that as a template so that you can generate other jobs directly out of it. All of your templates are going to be stored in here, and you're going to be able to quickly and easily come through and edit these templates. So it's a very easy process to make your own scheduling templates, same as it is for making your own estimating templates or any contract or document templates too. So from here, we can see this view with the scheduled tasks. We can see the project that we have on them. One of the options that's available in ConstructionSuite is if you go to Tools and Options. On our calendars, we can choose how we view these different options or activities that we have showing up. So we can have just the subject, we can have subject and project name. I prefer this because whenever you have a schedule that becomes a little bit crowded with your different projects that you're running, this can easily give you a way to see which tasks are associated with which project and where this kind of line up. You can have it assigned by the contact name, which would be any of the resources like our subcontractors that we assign to those scheduled tasks. Or we can assign it to the username. That's going to be our internal team members, our users that log into ConstructionSuite, and the ones that are assigned to specific tasks. That way they can look at the calendar and see that they have a certain item coming up or that they are booked for a certain amount of time, because it will show them quickly and easily here on the activity view. We can also choose what time frame we're viewing our different activities at. So we can see our workday here is set to start from 8 to 5:30 p.m. So that's a good general rule of thumb time right there. All of this information is going to be based off of your system clock. So you're never going to have to worry about changing time zones or anything. That's automatically going to be pulled in based off of the time clock on your computer. From here, we can actually go ahead and jump directly into a schedule. So we see here, it's a pretty familiar view, especially like I said, if you've used things like Microsoft Project, you're going to have this Gantt chart view over here on the right side. So the nice thing about the Gantt chart view is the way a schedule works is that you have groups and you have tasks underneath them. A group will hold a collection of tasks. We can see here our group is our planning group, and it has all of our different planning tasks that are built out underneath that. The group itself won't actually have a set amount of time on it. The group will only hold the amount of time that it takes for all of the tasks to be completed. So we can see here, if I begin to move these tasks, then the group is going to move with them. It's also going to expand based off of the size or the length and duration of the tasks beneath it. The other thing to look at is going to be our critical path line. Now, in ConstructionSuite and in scheduling, you can set up predecessor relationships inside of the schedule. The way predecessor relationships work is that they prevent you from scheduling or moving forward tasks without having other tasks compensate in time for that. So schedule or predecessor relationships are what make a schedule different from just a collection of individual tasks on a calendar. This predecessor relationship means that if I move design services forward, all of our other tasks have to move forward too, due to the relationships that they have, where we cannot begin one task without having completed another task. And so we can see here, if we look at the construction financing to builder's risk insurance relationship, as we move design services forward, that task length, or the time there, will begin to shrink. The other thing to notice and to take note of is that when you move a task backwards, it will not automatically pull any forward tasks back with it. That is by design. The way that the schedules work, when you have additional time on one task, or when one task starts or begins earlier than expected, that does not automatically mean that any other tasks will start out of time too. So moving one task back in time will not shift your entire schedule back in time. It is only when moving tasks forward in time, where one is not complete in time to begin another, that you'll see the predecessor relationships take effect and begin to move other tasks forward. Now, if you do have some significant head start or extra time inside of a schedule, what you can do is you can actually use the compressed schedule option here. What the compressed schedule option is going to do is it gives you the ability to close out all of the extra lag time that you have inside of that schedule in one fell swoop or option. Now, I will give you a heads up, it is a little bit of a shotgun approach, as we call it, because there's no way to compress just certain parts of the schedule. The entire schedule will be compressed with this option. So we see here, if I click it, it's going to bring our entire schedule in as it goes through. So this will move the entire schedule for you. So I always tell people to be aware of that. It will remove that time in there for you. Some of the other things to look at are going to be your different view options. We can choose show all activities. We can cut this down to kind of this shorter 1 week view. We can expand it out to the 4 weeks. We can choose if we're only showing our critical path options, and if we're showing all of our activities. And so guys, also just to go ahead and give everyone a heads up, you can go ahead and start chatting in questions at any time. If you have questions, feel free to go ahead and ask them. I can go ahead and answer them now if I can, or if not, sometimes I'll wait until the end so I can go through and answer all of the questions at one time. But yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to go ahead and start asking those, and I'm more than happy to answer what I can for you right now. If not, we also have a number of training materials available online, so you can go through and you can kind of see the different options that are available for you with scheduling and with the training materials that we offer. So some of the other things to look at here inside of scheduling is going to be the ways that we can move these different tasks around. So we can see here, you can drag and drop tasks. With our workdays that we have set here, the system's going to automatically adjust the length of the task to cover over those non-work days that we have included in there. So if we know that our standard Saturday and Sunday, or our Monday to Friday work week doesn't include Saturday and Sunday, we have a task with a 7-day duration, but it extends over the weekend. The task will still remain 7 days in length, but it will extend over the weekend for us, so that it actually covers all the amount of time that we need to complete it. The work days can be changed up here in the options, and we can set which work days we're on. We can also set which holidays that we have automatically included on the calendar for us. So we can choose, we have standard holidays here. We can also add our own exceptions as far as personal holidays or whichever days we choose to not be scheduled on. This is nice because it allows us to create basically our own custom holidays inside the schedule that will automatically be treated just like a standard holiday or any federal government holidays. We also have options where we can filter down our schedule by different contacts or date range. This gives us the ability to take some of those larger schedules and cut them down to something a little bit easier to look through or to navigate by only viewing the tasks that are assigned to a specific subcontractor or user or client of ours. if we look here in our resources column, this is where that view is actually going to come in handy because of our resources. So with the tasks that you have in ConstructionSuite, you have the ability to assign different contacts or resources to them. What a resource is would be someone who is assigned to actually complete that task for you. So you can go through and you can choose from your different subcontractors that you have, and you can actually assign them as resources on this task or this item. From there, you can run resource reports by going up to report and scheduling conflict report. And you can run these reports and see if you have any scheduling conflicts coming up with any of your resources that you have scheduled inside of here. There are a couple of other options that we can choose as we go through. It's really a question of kind of getting in here and taking a look around. There's a number of capabilities here. So we can set our duration as estimated. We can mark this as ASAP, meaning it needs to be completed very quickly. Or we can change it into a milestone, which will give it basically a 1 day duration. A milestone is more of a closing point at the end of a phase of a project compared to a task that takes a set amount of time to complete. We also go through and track our completion percentage on this task, and we can set reminders for ourselves. So for some of those really important tasks that just have to be taken care of, or the ones that need a little bit more attention paid to them, you can actually set reminders that are going to give you a heads up before this task begins at certain times, really however you would like to schedule those. And those reminders can be created and made so that they will actually send out an email to you and send you a specific message. And we can see here, we can choose to have it notify our resources. This way, whenever the system detects that we have a task that's assigned to one of our subcontractors coming up, it will actually automatically send them either an email or a text message if you have their phone number in there, and give them a notification about that task. So this can be really useful for kind of some of those schedules that fall off the map a little bit, or some of the tasks where you don't want to have to go through, you don't have the time necessarily to go through and notify each individual subcontractor that they have a task or a job coming up. Instead, the system will actually run through and it will automatically generate and send out those notifications whether or not you tell it to. You just have to set up the notification in the first place, and it will take care of sending that out on its own. The other part to look at is going to be the estimate here. So what you have the capability to do, whenever you build and sync a schedule and an estimate, you can sync the two of those to bring estimate data into the schedule and schedule data into the estimate. This can be used to help you generate things like an earned value report, where you can see the value of the percentage of work that you've completed on this job, or our cash flow report and see how much money or how many dollars worth of invoices and work that we've completed on this schedule. So it gives you a lot of power and capability. If you have a good plan and you build your schedules and your estimates off of the same kind of path or template, then you can automatically integrate the two of those, sync the data between them, and be able to track both your estimate based off of the timelines inside of it and your schedule based off the cost assigned to each of your items in there or your tasks. So as you go through the estimate, it's pretty quick and easy, like I said, to both move those tasks around and also to extend or shorten any of these tasks. Once you have a task selected, you can both move it back and forth, and you can shorten or lengthen that task just by grabbing it, dragging, and dropping it. The system's not going to allow you to do things that would violate the rules that you have on that task, like setting it onto a non-work day, or allow you to do something like move it past a task that has a predecessor relationship with it. So you can see here, when I try and move this task back in time into the middle of a task that it has a predecessor relationship with, that we can see here, it's going to give me a predecessor violation message. So we have the option, we can cancel the move, or we can go ahead and remove the relationship. If we know that relationship's no longer true and there does not need to be a predecessor there, we can go ahead and remove that. And now we just have the lot costs as a separate task. And so we can see here, our critical path is going to follow this path all the way down through the project to our final job option or job task. And so we see we can come here to our options, and we can choose to only show the critical path. From here we can zoom out, and we can see that our critical path runs from our earlier task here all the way down to the very last task that is on our job or in our schedule. So the critical path is really useful for seeing exactly what tasks we have to complete to finish the job. That's why it's very useful to have the critical path and to be familiar with it and the way that critical paths work and are calculated. The critical path, what it ends up being is the longest amount of time that it can take to finish the job, because it includes every task that must be finished to get to the final completion of the job. So it always lets you know the total amount of time that's on your schedule and that you expect to use or to utilize for that overall schedule. Some of the other options are going to be to change the view. So one of the things we can do is we can come in to this task info only view. This is a little bit more of an administrative view. It's similar to a spreadsheet, but what we can do here is we can easily see all of our tasks and all of the information about them. So any notes that we've entered on those tasks, the description that we've included, and things like their priority, status, and reminders. The other thing we'll notice is because we're only viewing our critical path, our slack time is all 0 days. That's how the critical path functions, is that you don't have any slack time between your critical path functions. They have to be completed, and they are completed the shortest amount of time possible, but is the longest length of tasks that's available. So at this point, I'd like to go ahead and pause and open up for any questions that we do have. If anyone is curious about kind of any of the functionality inside of these tasks, or the way things like the predecessor relationships work. All right, it looks like we had a wonderful question about the way that the baselines work. Okay, the baselines are great because it allows you to build out a schedule as is, kind of a preliminary schedule or a schedule that you plan for a certain contingency or event, and then save that schedule as a view. So you can take the schedule and save it as a baseline schedule. And then as you go through and as your schedule changes, as you run into things like a delay, things that we know happen on the job site often and we have to work around and work with very often, as you adjust your schedule, you can see what that original baseline was and what your schedule was set to be. So we can see here, I can go ahead and set this baseline. And it's going to save it for us. So we're going to choose to show the webinar baseline. And as we go and we move forward, we can see where this task, where this baseline remained. So we can see that we've moved this task so far forward in the amount of days, and that it no longer matches up with where our original baseline was. This gives us a good idea of where we expected our schedule to be when we originally generated it, versus where our schedule is now, or kind of how much time we've lost or gained in the overall schedule as it is. All right, so it looks like we have another question about the chronological sort. So the way that the chronological sort works is that it will go through and it will sort all of your tasks chronologically. So sometimes your schedule ends up being built, and not all schedules are necessarily built with all of their predecessor relationships built in, or even in the same order or type of order. So the chronological sort will actually go through and reorder all of your tasks chronologically from the start all the way down to the finish. So it makes it, in case sometimes you run into issues building your schedule out, or things end up not being quite on the same timeline that you expected, you can quickly and easily go through and have the entire schedule be automatically sorted by the software for you. So it can save you a lot of time and make it a lot easier to get that schedule edited and back in line for you. The other things I would point out would be kind of some of the speed enhancing moves that we have here to help you more quickly and easily get through your schedule and edit or change that. So we can change our durations right inside of the software. we can build out our different predecessor relationships. And you can also use the different standard predecessor relationship types. So if you were to just put a number in as a predecessor relationship, like you see here where we have just 5, 4, and 3, that's going to be your standard FS relationship. There are 4 different types of predecessor relationships, and they start with kind of the most widely used, which is the FS, or the finish to start. So they're all pretty simple, and they contain either the word finish or start in them. The FS relationship means finish to start. So if we have 7 FS on this task number 13, what that says is that task number 13 cannot start before task number 7 finishes. So 7 must finish before 13 can start. From there, the other relationships that we would have would be FF for finish, SF for start to finish, and then SS for start to start. So all of those are kind of self-explanatory as they go through. For example, the start to finish would mean that the task A must start before task A can finish, or task B can finish. What that means is that the second task in line can begin before the first task starts, but it cannot finish before that task starts. So these, if you kind of think about them and sit down and think, so F to F, or finish to finish, means that the second task cannot finish before the first task finishes. Same thing with S to S, or start to start, which would mean that the second task cannot start before the first task starts. But as I said, the one that you're going to see as a default, and by far the most often, is going to be the finish to start, which means that the first task must finish before the second task can start. So other than that, we have the kind of the ability, if you come in here to our tools, it's going to actually be under file, to take this schedule that we have, and you can actually both build out an estimate from this schedule, and you can sync it with a current estimate. So if we go through with our sync estimate options, we can choose one of the estimates that we have saved in here, and we can determine if that schedule already exists, if that estimate already exists. We can bring things like our cost data directly into this schedule. We can choose to include our company overhead margin, have those amounts prorated into the schedule. And then we can also choose if we want to send our schedule information to the estimate. So that's going to do things like take our start and finish dates and our durations out of the schedule and assign those to the line items that we have stored in that estimate directly. The last part, and one of the most powerful ones, is the ability to sync our resources between the estimate and the schedule. This has the potential to save you a lot of time, in that whenever you go through and you build out your schedule with your different resources that you've assigned to it, like your different subcontractors and your different team members who you've assigned to it, you can sync those from the schedule directly into the estimate and assign them to those estimate line items also. This allows you to do things like generate work orders and materials lists directly out for those subcontractors from your estimate. All you have to do is the work at the beginning to assign those users to the items, and then the system's going to do the rest of the work for you as far as generating documentation, figuring out which items need to be included on things like those purchase orders or requests for material lists also. And the same thing with inside the schedule with sending out notifications about that. And the last thing I would say is that we also offer integration with Oracle Primavera, SureTrack, and Microsoft Project. What this means is that if you have an existing schedule, so a lot of times if an outside party sends you a schedule that they've built out for a job, they can come in one of these different formats from these different software or scheduling softwares that people often use. So we give you the ability to take the schedule that they send you, import it directly into a ConstructionSuite schedule that's built out, and save it right there. Now, once you've finished off your schedule, the question is always, how do we get this schedule out to the people who need it, to the people who are actually working with it? This is where the great integration with ConstructionOnline comes through. We have here the option to save or publish this schedule to ConstructionOnline. What that means is that we can take this schedule that we've built here with all of our assigned resources and dates and work days on it, and we can actually publish it directly up to ConstructionOnline. ConstructionOnline offers the world's fastest online scheduling, and you can move the tasks around in this same Gantt chart view just like you can in ConstructionOnline. But from here, you can take this schedule, publish it up to ConstructionOnline. If you have any resources attached to the schedule that also exist as contacts in ConstructionOnline, they're automatically going to be assigned to the schedule too. The great part is that you don't have to worry about printing off a schedule and getting it to them or sending them a file to be able to view and then making sure that they're updated or that they make sure that they have the right version of that. What happens is you publish this schedule to ConstructionOnline and you can make any changes or edits to it there in ConstructionOnline, or you can change it and edit it in ConstructionSuite and send it back up there. They're going to see whenever they view their calendar the scheduled tasks that you've assigned them to, but only the most recent or edited version. They're never going to get an older copy to work with or to look at. They're always going to be up to date on the information. So this means you guys are always on the same page with your different subcontractors and vendors and make sure that everyone's really sharing the same information. So guys, if you'd like, you can go ahead and chat in any additional questions that you have. I'm more than happy to go ahead and start answering those for you now. All right, so it looks like I have a wonderful question about some of the reports that we can generate out of ConstructionSuite in this schedule. So one of my favorites is going to be this status report. The status report allows us to come into a schedule and quickly and easily see either the tasks that we've finished, the tasks that we need to finish, and the ones that are overdue or behind schedule for us. So we can go ahead and we can look, and we'll take our unfinished tasks, the ones that we haven't started working on yet. We can choose which display columns to look at, any custom notes that we want to include. We can go ahead and hit OK. And this is going to pull out the unfinished tasks for us. Now, since we're working on a sample schedule that hasn't been completed, this is probably going to bring up most of the schedule for us, so it may take us a second to generate. But in general, this would be something you used as you went through the job progress and you were getting near kind of the middle or the end of that. It's going to go ahead and pull in our customer or client data for us, including all of their address and phone information. It's also going to pull in our project information for us. We can go ahead and choose to insert our letterhead graphic and generate any additional documents that we would like. From here, we're going to get a list of all the tasks that we haven't finished based off their percentages. So we're going to see not only our total status report for the tasks, which is going to include our completion percentages for our different groups, which are going to be kind of those larger categories of the project, but also we can include things like our estimate and resources, see what tasks need to be worked on or finished, and where we're really falling behind. So this gives us a good idea of the people we need to get in touch with, or we need to make sure are completing or kind of stepping into or stepping up on their jobs. So another thing I wanted to also go ahead and show off is going to be the earned value report. The earned value report is really essential in project management because it lets you have a good idea of the actual value of the work that you've completed. This can be vital in knowing really how much you've allocated or put forward to something. Also for comparing to how much money you've actually spent on your project. Use these for some of your calculations like your CPI to see, are we on schedule with this job? Have we done more work than we've spent money or been billed for? Or are we far behind? Is our job now over budget because we've completed certain or X amount of work monetarily, but we've already billed out a larger amount than that? So are we now behind schedule and over budget? Are we ahead of schedule and under budget? The earned value report gives you the ability to find that out quickly and easily based off of the information that you put into the schedule. So the first thing is we're going to have our estimated costs synced with this schedule from our estimate. We're also going to have to be going through and doing our percentage completions on this job. So we can see our percentage completions, estimated figures. We go through and we hit OK. And the software is going to build out a report for us, an earned value report that shows us really how much of the scheduled work in cost or value that we have actually completed so far. From here, we can see the report that it pulls up. We have our tasks on it. We can see our estimated values for these, and then how much value we've actually earned from that. This gives us a good breakdown or metric of really the amount of work that we have left remaining on the job and the amount of work that we need to be able to complete and kind of cover as far as our monetary costs remaining on that. So I think this is another one really of the great project management tools that ConstructionSuite overall provides. If you have any other questions, feel free to go ahead and chat them in now or to shoot them over to us. Probably the easiest would be the support@uda1.com. We have a lot of great team members there who are more than happy to answer any of your questions. We also have a number of Suite Talk online training videos, some that cover the scheduling portion specifically, as well as a number of pre-recorded webinars. If you'd like, feel free to go ahead and give us a call at 800-700-8321. We're more than happy to assist you over the phone, answer any questions, kind of help you walk through this. As is, guys, it's been a wonderful pleasure speaking to you today. Once again, if you have any additional questions, feel free to give us a call. We're more than happy to help. Other than that, I hope everyone has a great day and a great Memorial Day weekend coming up. Thank you very much.